moment our day starts, so does the watching. Every bit of our lives is interesting to someone. The more we use technology, the further surveillance can reach into our lives. This is Britain in 2009, where someone will pay for information on every part of your life, where personal data is no longer personal, where you can never be sure who's watching you. I've used secret filming as part of my job as a reporter. But how much of my life, of all of our lives, is watched and recorded?
Just think about it. All the ways in which we're watched. When I use my phone, get cash, these cameras, they're all building up a picture of my life. But maybe there's surveillance that we can't see. Maybe there's surveillance that we don't even know about. I'm going to try to find out who is cashing in on our private lives.
Because it's increasingly hard to define what's private and what's not. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but while I'm away, the production team have arranged for my flat to be secretly wired with surveillance cameras and audiobooks. It's being done by a surveillance specialist working for a private security company, part of an industry of watchers, an industry worth millions of pounds. This man makes a living watching for his corporate clients. Tonight, though I don't know it yet, he's running a surveillance operation on me. I didn't know it, but the surveillance operative tracking me was digging deeper into my life.
Yeah, for Monday and Tuesday, I'd like to.
Listening in to my telephone conversations.
I won't know whether I can until...
All the technology we use to communicate can be tracked these days. There is a world of espionage centred not around national security, but around cash. It has its own techniques, its own spies, and its own rules. But just how vulnerable is our information to this kind of digging? I'm at Waterloo Station in London for a meeting. This man describes himself as a corporate intelligence specialist. I don't know about him, but he knows about me.
Hello, Richard. Sorry. That's for you. I've watched you for some time.
This train is full of 8
Yeah.
coaches. Platform 1 for the 13.
This is the flat,
This is the flat.
and there are pictures of me in it. And on the phone.
And on the phone.
Can you hear me on the phone?
We can hear you on the phone.
Are these moving images as well?
These are moving images. These are stills from video images, and we can pick up everything you're doing in your flat.
That's the one I find the most disturbing, because that is quite late. That's 12:30. I'm not looking at the best friend of mine, and you were watching me. So how quickly could you build up a picture of my life?
A week, 2 weeks, and I would know everything from what you had to breakfast, where you shop, who your girlfriend is, what you look at on your computer, who you telephone, how much money's in your bank, everything.
I was relieved he hadn't gone that far. Being secretly filmed 24 hours a day in my flat felt bad enough.
Who would this be used against then, this kind of stuff?
This sort of thing could be used against company directors, people that work in high finance, politicians, that sort of people.
And this stuff goes on?
This stuff goes on all the time. It's not just used by the police and by government. It's used to more effect by private industry.
While valuable information belonging to companies can be targeted in sophisticated ways, sometimes the weakness is much more basic. The people who work for a company can make it vulnerable. Alex says a weak link will be targeted and followed.
Are they going into a pub and saying that some business deal isn't working out, and can they be overheard saying that? Are they discussing the share price of the company, the fact that something's going to happen in the company next week that's going to affect the share price?
Nighttime in the West End of London. The office workers have left their desks. I met up with Alex again. He wanted to show me how easy it is to find secrets.
What we're going to do is we're going to drive around and try and identify some areas where the garbage is at.
Corporate spooks call it bin spinning, going through a company's rubbish for valuable data. It sounds a bit mad, and I don't believe we'll get much, but Alex says it's all there, waiting for us.
So when you see these places, did you see loads and loads of places where you can get data?
Yeah, it's a simple way of finding out what a company's up to. Just having a look through their bins.
You never notice it, but there's actually rubbish everywhere.
There is rubbish everywhere, yeah.
And like all good spies, we need to don a disguise.
This is our way of disappearing, so if you want to put this on.
And it's been your experience, is it, that you wear these, you can do what you like?
Yeah, you can pretty much do what you want. If you, for instance, if you wore a high-vis vest and had a clipboard and went into someone's office, walked around the large office building, most people would ignore you.
Yep.
This
By
one here is
law,
clear.
companies are supposed to securely dispose of personal information, but it wasn't difficult to find evidence the law is being ignored.
What we're going to do is going to have a look and see what's in this.
Okay, yeah.
I'll go through it,
Yep.
and I will photograph anything of interest, and then we will put it all back and put the bin back.
Okay, have a look.
And it didn't take Alex long to find something of interest.
This here would be useful if I was doing an investigation on this company. I would know that that director is out of the country and exactly where he's staying, the hotel he's staying, and when he's going. All it would take is for somebody to phone that company and say, I'm from this hotel, our guest Mr. and Mrs. such and such require the financial statements for this period to be faxed through immediately to this fax number. People in the high-end intelligence world will carry out that sort of trick all the time.
In truth, I still wasn't convinced. Bin spinning isn't illegal as long as the rubbish is returned to its owner, and Alex keeps looking.
It seems amazing to me that this can go on.
Well, it goes on all the time. I mean, you could bring down a company with good intelligence on a deal that they're putting all their effort into.
Where are we now?
This is Harley Street, W1. So this area is probably full of doctors.
Harley Street is the heart of Britain's private medical industry. The kind of information handled by companies here couldn't be more personal.
We take this bag here, just at random. It's the biggest one. Absolutely full of documents. And from this side, we take this one here.
It's amazing, I think, that now you've shown me this kind of unprotected area, how much of it there is.
Well, people don't understand the value of the information they're throwing away, or how valuable it could be to other people. What do we have here? Okay, let's have a look. Here we have a list of patients and what they're coming in for. Have a look. So if we have a look at this.
Wow, these are all operations that are taking place.
Yep, I would imagine this is the surgeon.
And this is
the
cosmetic
client.
surgery, and it just details what they're having. And this is not the sort of stuff that any of these women would want in the public domain. And
I'm sure that they wouldn't. I'm sure that they wouldn't.
Their names.
The document listing patients' names and the operations they were going to have came from a cosmetic surgery company called the Harley Medical Group.
I mean, down here we got a woman, we got her name, we got her doctor's name, we got a place, a location, which I think is where the operation's taking place. But You know, from this here, we can work out who she is. We know
Absolutely.
she's having liposuction in 3 areas on Thursday, the 26th of February.
So are you surprised to find this sort of document on the side of the street then?
Well, I'm amazed. I mean, I'm kind of catching on quick that this stuff just gets dumped by the side of the road, but this stuff is just way too personal because this is other people's lives and really personal information.
Instead of putting the document back on the street where Alex found it, we returned it to the Harley Medical Group for secure disposal. From information contained in the document, we were able to contact some of the patients on the list. One chose to talk anonymously about the fact that details of her surgery had been left in a bin bag on a London street by the private medical company she had turned to.
I am actually very, very upset that something that's very personal to me has been neglectfully treated. It's my medical information, and I don't necessarily want everybody to know what I've had done, and I would want to tell them myself rather than just have the information banded around on the street and anybody be able to pick it up, really.
The Harley Medical Group told us they've investigated this breach of their data protection policy and have retrained all their 200 employees to ensure patient information is protected at all times. Cash motivates most things in life, and surveillance is no different. There's money in knowing about us and what we do.
There's one, I assume.
And most of us just don't know how much of our lives can be accessed. We like our computers and our mobiles much more than we're bothered about the data trail they leave. What I've seen is an industry growing unchecked. It uses whatever it needs. Technology, military expertise, even good old-fashioned thieving, all to get its hands on your personal data. So I'd like to say, be careful, but I think it's way too late for all that. It has never been harder to know who's watching you.